Welcome to this lesson. Now in this lesson we are going to learn how to be a better public speaker. Why you need this is because there's going to be times where you're going to have to present information, whether that's in front of 2 people, 3 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. It's probably going to happen in your lifespan. And we don't want you to be caught with your pants down. We want you to be 100% prepared to give that presentation flawlessly. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. Now, what happens if you don't take these lessons? You're just not going to feel confident in the information that you're actually trying to convey. So really, when I give you these prompts, I want you to stand up and do what I do. I want you to work through the vocal exercises, and I really want you to imagine yourself in front of that crowd. Hey allies, welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to become a better public speaker, which is probably the most asked for lesson ever. Now, we could be public speaking to present information of our own. Sometimes we're public speakers to present someone else's information. Let's say if you work at a specific job. I personally, oddly enough, I didn't realize that I was qualified for teaching this lesson until people started asking for it. And then I realized I was a public speaker daily, like actually daily. I worked for a tech company and I was a teacher for this company. Now, this was in New York City at the World Trade Center. And I had to give presentations over a microphone to typically 100 plus people. Now, some of those people were paying attention and some of those people weren't paying attention, which actually at first made me a lot more nervous because I felt I had to vie for their attention in this whole course. Now, I was presenting information that wasn't my own, which was kind of nice because I was able to detach myself from it, but I was able to throw in my own style and my own little spice. And through that, so our teaching group was one specific group, and we had obviously other stores within our community, in our ecosystem. And I was one of the highest performing teachers in basically the country. And this definitely comes from knowing that every single presentation was a performance and acting as such. So there were a couple of things that I did that really helped to alleviate the nerves. So if you're watching this and you're thinking that you can't present and you're thinking like, I'm getting hives just thinking about speaking in public, or people usually think, if I'm an introvert, I can't present. That's not true at all. I'm very much introverted. However, when I control a situation, when I'm presenting, I feel a little bit more charged. So it doesn't matter if I'm presenting for 2 people or 1 person or over 100 people. Take yourself outside of that mindset because it's not about introvert, extrovert. It's really just about communicating the information that you want to convey. So, I'm so excited. The first thing that I used to do all of the time is you have to really know the information that you are going to present on. Now, I have a friend, an associate, someone that I know. She teaches about public speaking, and she suggests to practice your information and your presentation at least a dozen times. Now, before I heard that, I was saying 12 times. Like, I heard that and I thought, that's so much. But realistically, that's actually how many times you have to really practice it and understand it. That way, when it comes out, it's just a flow of information and it doesn't feel like you're repeating. Also, it helps so that you're just not stumped. Now, with this practice, I want you to practice in front of your friends. I want you to practice in front of strangers. You can even practice in front of stuffed animals if you have your pets. Practice in front of your pets, stuffed animals. Pretty sure all adults, but who knows? Like, I see a teddy bear right there. So just practice, just start getting into that flow and understand your style. Now, for presentations, I really suggest that they're conversational. So if you're reading back what you're presenting and it doesn't sound like you, then you need to scratch it and you need to really put in that flavor and that spice that you normally bring to a conversation, right? So it would be equivalent would be if I was saying something like, I can't even think of a big word to say. But basically a word that I typically wouldn't say. Wow, I really can't think of any words. But basically, don't try to be so verbose, which was like using these big words to make yourself sound intellectual, because if you're using those big words and then you stumble on them, it kind of defeats the purpose of what you were going for. So really make it conversational, just like you're speaking to someone. All right, so practice, practice, practice. It's going to be 12 times at least that you're practicing the information that you're presenting. Now, even if you find out that you have to give a presentation tomorrow, guess what? You need to practice 12 times before tomorrow. You just have to, okay? Because that's how you're going to rein in that confidence and really just like feel good and hit your marks within your presentation. All right, so you're practicing, right? But what happens right before you get into your presentation, into that public speaking? I personally love to do power poses. So I'm going to show you the power pose that I used to do before every single presentation that I gave, and also right before really special talks that I had to give. Even if it was a one-on-one, even if it was asking for a raise or promotion, I always practice these power poses. So a power pose is just really a position that you put your body in that it physically decreases your cortisol levels, which is connected to our anxious feelings. So I'm going to show you the Wonder Woman pose. That is very easy to do. It doesn't look that silly when you're practicing it. So this is what you're going to do before a presentation. Okay, so your power pose, this is the Wonder Woman. Super, super easy. Hands on your hips, spread out your legs, and chin up. And just kind of like breathe into that position. And I swear when you do this, like I feel chills already. It's insane. I actually feel chills because it's decreasing that anxiety. And if you're thinking, well, Amanda, like, how is it working right now? I'm anxious talking to the camera right now, but I'm doing this thing. So you can definitely do it too. So you're going to hold this position for a little bit. And honestly, I would say what's cool is when you're kind of like bouncing back and forth, even if someone's talking to you, you're still holding that position. So I used to do this all the time. People would come up to me right before a presentation and talk to me. And this didn't look weird, right? But I was still doing what I had to do. And I was holding that power position. Now, if you have to present when you are actually sitting down, that's okay too. You can still create these power moves, but you have to take up a lot of space within your seat. So instead of sitting like this is going to make you very, very nervous. You have to take up a lot of space. So literally legs open, arms wide. This is going to help decrease that level of cortisol. So, and you can stretch. You're going to do this for a couple of minutes, and I swear you're going to feel so much better. So that is one of the very first things that you do right before you're about to present. Okay, so we have those power positions that are really great, but then what about our actual voice and how we're using that? Now, I watched a YouTube video, and it's how to speak so that people will listen. And in this, because I'm a researcher, I love to research. And before I started presenting, I was like, how do I become the best version of myself that I can be? So I did a deep dive into this, and that's the information that I'm giving you right now. So there are warm-up exercises for, basically they're vocal warm-up exercises. So I'm going to teach you how to do these. They really help, and yeah, this is going to really allow the words to come out of your mouth a little bit smoother. So the first one is putting your arms up and sighing out really deep. Just getting that flow of energy out. Then you warm up your lips with ba, 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 ba. And then after that, you just do this. It sounds really silly. It looks silly if you do this in private, great. If you can't do it in front of people, let them know what you're doing. Just clue them in on the craziness. That's going to help you present. Then you're going to warm up your tongue with an exaggerated la, 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 la. All right, then it suggests to roll an R, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't roll my R's. I can only roll them in a conversation. So if you can't roll it, just skip. And if you can, I'm jealous. All right, and then finally, pros call this the siren. You go from we to ah. So wee, ah, wee, ah. It sounds a little crazy, but again, it really, really helps. When I was a teacher, I presented this video to my other co-teachers and they loved it, and we did it as a whole practice together. So if you do it, you're gonna be awesome. All right, so now, we talked about while you're practicing your presentation, how you're gonna practice. And then we spoke about right before you're presenting, right? So this is gonna be the power poses and it's gonna be those mouth exercises. Now, what about actually speaking? Don't get nervous yet. Just don't get nervous, okay? Because if you did those exercises with me, which if you haven't, pause this right now and go do those exercises, you should be feeling good at this point. Then you'll know that once you get onto your stage or your podium or whatever it is, you're going to be feeling good and that energy is going to be flowing, right? But now what happens when we get there? So we have some tips for you. Now, the biggest mistake that people make, and after finding research, there was studies done on TED Talks. So the research found that the TED Talks that were the most successful had the use of hand movements 80% of their actual talk, which I'm a New Yorker. I naturally speak with my hands, but specifically when you are speaking with your hands, you're allowing yourself to convey a message that sometimes, the lack of hand movements and just words can't really convey. So what are we doing with our hands? Because there is an exaggeration, like you can talk with your hands too much. That's a problem. And you're always this and that. That becomes very distracting. So while you're practicing your presentation, you're going to be working on your hand movements. Now, they call this the beach ball zone. So specifically, if you had a beach ball in your hand, it would be about this big, right? This is where your hand movements should live. They shouldn't really live outside of it unless you're conveying a very important message. So let's say the message was, they were so far away, right? That feels so far away. You wouldn't say they're so far away. That's not that far. But if you're not conveying that far away message or anything else that kind of lives over on this realm, you want to stay within your beach ball zone. So as you're talking with your hands, anywhere over here is totally fine, right? Now, why do I want you to talk with your hands? I'm a New Yorker, I do this naturally, but I want you, wherever you are, to talk with your hands as well. This really allows this flow of energy to kind of come out instead of just staying within yourself, right? Now, I'm a wedding photographer. I have seen many wedding toasts, so many. And I always can tell when people are nervous and when they're really feeling it is when they hold themselves very steady, but they're trying to hold steady and you see the shake in their hands. Now, let's say if that same person was kind of talking, right? Those nerves are just not there anymore. They're not there anymore because you can't visually see it, so it's not a conscious thing. But I know that every time their hands are shaking, they're thinking, my hands are shaking, oh my God. And that creates more of a nervous anxiety feeling, right? So talk with your hands, that's totally fine. I don't know why people don't talk with their hands more often. The other thing is that it allows the audience to trust you. Now, if you did your entire presentation with your hands behind your back, not only does it look weird, but the audience is going to be thinking, what the hell is going on back there? What's happening? So you definitely want to allow that honest, open communication. All right, I've given you a lot so far, but there's one thing, and my phone is blowing up. Do not disturb. Okay. So now my last and final thing is, if you can, I really hope that you can, allow yourself to walk on stage. Let's say you're giving a TED Talk or a presentation, or maybe you're presenting to your coworkers. Allow yourself to take a little stroll. Now, this stroll is also feeling that energy and just kind of like letting it go. But also it's the equivalent of taking up space, like that power pose. When you take up space, you are in a position of power. So you're going to feel that energy. So kind of like walk off your nerves. Now, the other thing, I guess you could say this is a bonus, is pick a couple of people in your crowd to make eye contact with. So let's say it's a crowd of 100 people. Pick 7 people around the room that you're just kind of speaking to directly. Now, if you noticed, I didn't suggest to imagine your audience in their underwear. That would probably make me more nervous, right? But instead, I want you to speak to those 7 people as if those are 7 people that you know that are in the crowd. People that you know. Oh, that's my mom over there. That's my boyfriend over there. That's my girlfriend over there. Whatever it is, allow that connection to be formed and really get your mindset into a comfortable feeling in speaking to them. I have presented, now that I think of it, countless of times. I literally can't even count. I used to present daily to really big groups of people. I used to present for members of the media. I've presented in other ways. I've been on podcasts. So these tools really, really help me, and I know that they're really going to help you. So practice 12 times, power position, vocal warm-ups, and yeah, let that flow go. Just let that flow. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next lesson. All right, so I'm so happy that you enjoyed all that information. Now, here is your self-work. I want you to put together a 5-minute presentation on something that you're really passionate about. I want you to practice this 12 times, like we said. I want you to do the power poses, and I want you to use your hands and start walking through your presentation. And I want you to present your presentation, your 5-minute presentation, to someone, 2 people, maybe one person that you are comfortable with, but then also someone that you might not be so comfortable with. Now, we are going to have a Facebook group so you can partner in that group and see who you can present to, and we're really gonna break down these barriers. I'm so excited to see what you guys present, and I will see you in the next video.